just in general, Dune 2 was bigger, was better, and it was way more complicated. Like, you know, you'd think that, you know, going into part 2 of Dune, that you could just reactivate all of the assets which we had created on the first one, but Denis being Denis, he changed everything. You know, like every single thing changed. I think there's one shot in Dune 2 which still uses the original ornithopter from the first movie, but other than that, everything changed. The actual sets changed, and the fact that we actually got to see the worm in proper daylight. You know, whereas in the first one it was in a darker light. So this time we couldn't hide anything basically. Like it was all there. You know, and you know, just you know, working on Dune with Denis, like we very much have this philosophy that, like, you know, Denis is never going to have a visual in the movie which like takes you out, which like doesn't sit quite right, and like you're there immersed in the story, and then like suddenly something comes up and it takes you out. Like, and Denis also has a very good eye as well, so like trying to get things past him is quite tricky anyway, right? So, but you know, going through that process, it then kind of gives you like, you always try to keep the integrity of the image. So like, we shoot something, and knowing that like we are going to change a background, it's always trying to keep the balance of what you've shot. And what that means sometimes is that like we can be in a particular sequence, and we'll change the background, which will break the continuity of the background in a sequence, but then like your actual visual doesn't jump out. You know, like you keep that balance, and there are various times throughout the movie where you actually see this, and you know, for example, the arena battle, you know, that was a tricky shoot in that because it was a super high contrast environment where you had the like really brights of the sand and all the darks of the shadows, and trying to keep that consistent with what the shadows of the arena would be was actually quite a technical challenge. But if you were to look closely, you would see that, you know, the like shadows sometimes change based on what the play was doing rather than what the stadium was doing. And like, you know, it's that kind of approach. Like, you don't want to sit through something and see something which jumps out at you.
And the special